What is
Hello, everyone.
Well,
it is
hello.
Scotch for Dummy live Thursday night.
Four of us.
Thursday
night.
Yeah.
Interesting show tonight,
Say what?
fellas. Interesting show tonight.
Yep.
Andrew has got something special for us tonight.
The Rising?
The rising stars of Scotch Whisky.
That's right. So last week, if you watched,
Is it us?
Yes.
I'm just checking.
it could be.
We're the mouthpiece
It might
of the
be.
rising stars.
Last week we had a good question: Is Scotch basically born, right? And we kind of said no, but there's a lot of weird things happening right now, and I think I actually had a really good comment on our video from last week from the live, and someone said it's not boring if you live in Scotland. I'm like, you're right,
Yeah.
because half the problem is stuff here.
Getting stuff over here. For
Right,
Sure. That's
but
the point.
We don't live in
the
Scotland.
point is, it's still interesting. It's slowed down. It's certain places you live, you see more opportunities. But tonight we're talking about new distilleries.
The new distillery. So
In Scotland.
in Scotland. So these are all new Scotch distilleries we're going to talk to tonight. Because think about it this way. They've been making Scotch in Scotland, or whiskey in Scotland, for hundreds of years. And some of the distilleries that are out there have been making Scotch for hundreds of years. And so comes a point when you need to infuse new blood. And actually the last 5 to 7 years, decade, has been a boom in brown liquid. And that has allowed some funding to be able to feed back into Scotch whiskey and open new distilleries. Now, a lot of the distilleries we're going to talk about tonight opened from basically 2015 forward to current. Some of them have had released whiskey, some of them have not. So that's going to be the interesting thing is, how are these new distilleries doing things differently than the big Diageo houses?
It should be a little difficult for them, I would imagine, for a while.
Well, you got to get in. How do you get your foot in the door when you're a little distillery with a few stills, a few employees, and you're competing against the big boys?
Well, I think at this point, if I were in that particular business, I would just be assuming that, rising tide raises all ships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if brown liquid is selling like wildfire, if I put out new brown liquid, I'm going to sell it, and I'm not putting out a ton. It's not going to be 1 million liters.
That's correct.
It's smaller batch stuff because your distillery is a little smaller and you're trying to get on your feet. The downside is it's a cash flow issue.
Right.
Because it takes a lot of money to deal with the building of the distillery, firing things up, hiring at least a couple people to, make the whiskey, roll the barrels, work the dunnage house, and then you got to wait.
3 years.
At least
Not only
3
that,
years,
but
yeah.
if you're established, you've got logistic chains and selling lanes.
Yep.
You're brand new to the market. You got to figure out how are you going to get your
how do you
liquid
get
to
on the
states?
shelf?
How are you going to get on a shelf in 50 states that all have different laws and rules?
And you got to take your whiskey, air quotes whiskey, out before it's actually legal to bottle to let people try barrel samples to
Right.
try and get enough people interested in buying your product that when you bottle it, you can actually start moving some of that.
There is a challenge to it for sure. And some of these distillers that you were talking about, Andrew, though, they are, let's say, new, but they're really not new. They're opening back up. Maybe they're
Some of them
bringing
are,
some
sure.
oldies.
Some old
We'll talk about some of
Yeah,
those
some old
tonight.
favorites. So
Yep.
they're I don't know if they're facing the same challenge because they have
They've got a whole market.
No,
Well,
Yes.
they've got Diageo behind them, and they got their
Right.
They got
Well,
they've got history.
They've got rabid fans at the door waiting
that's
to buy.
true.
Well, because
they're
we'll talk
hoping.
about that later, but some of these mothballed distilleries are extremely popular. They're selling their stuff, but the stuff is 30 years old.
Right.
And the
How
bottles
are you
are
gonna
expensive.
compare?
Well, so when they reopen and they can sell a 5-year-old whiskey at a normal, $50, $75 for whatever their bottle is, you're going to be able to get a lot more of those people. You'll sell a lot more bottles.
It's not the same juice.
It's not the same juice.
No.
And it's not going to taste as good because it's way younger.
Right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's gonna
There's
be
problems all the way around.
I think it's interesting going back to your point earlier about just starting off small, right? You have to cut your expenses, right? A couple people doing the hard work. I mean, you are busting your ass. It reminds me about years ago. You guys remember when we first interviewed Wolfburn?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That was a long
There were
time
like
ago.
3 employees.
Yeah, right. And that's exactly what they did.
Yep.
And look at them now. They're killing
Yep.
it, right? And they had to put in the time, all the effort, and they figured it all out to your point
And
about
they-
marketing. And
To be fair, they opened at exactly the right time.
That's
too.
true.
Because they were
riding that
they were
ship.
starting to rise right before everything really took off with brown spirits, and
Right.
they rode it all the way up. So good for them.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Well, before we get into it, what's everybody got in their glass? I've got one of these newer ones. in
yeah,
my
me too.
glass.
I'm waiting to get.
Yeah,
What'd you pour?
This is the Raasay.
Yeah, I'll try some of that.
So I put some of that in there.
I got the
I just
Ardnamurchan.
poured some water, so I need to rinse my glass. Then I'm going to hit that Nc'nean. I haven't had that yet.
All right, so Nc'nean, that's a definitely new one.
we tried that earlier.
This Raasay was a gift from one of our patrons.
That's right.
Martin Fielder gave that when we went down to. When did he bring that?
He brought it to our 6th year.
6th year. Yeah.
And that was the first time we had it. And obviously, Raasay, Ardnamurchan, they're killing it.
Yeah, there's a fan base already waiting at the door. Especially some of our patrons and our whiskey lovers that we know very well. They're all on board when it comes to Ardnamurchan.
Well, let's get into Ardnamurchan.
Sounds like a good.
So
Why don't
start-
you hand me one of those Ardnamurchans, because I'll hold off, because Ardnamurchan is one we're going to hit first. I think we're going alphabetically today.
So we've got
Seems like a good way to do it.
essentially alphabetically.
We've got 2 on the bar
Yeah.
tonight, so pick your poison.
So
We got cast strength here and something else.
That's the cast.
So I'm going to try the
Black
cast strength. I
Cast.
haven't tried that yet.
It's
So
good.
Let's talk about Ardnamurchan.
let's talk about it. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Ardnamurchan. They started distilling, I believe, in 2014. Is that what we have the information on them? And started releasing whiskey a few years later. There is a certain other whiskey tuber that is a fanboy of Ardnamurchan.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. He's
And-
got a couple bottles, casks out. I think.
Yeah, Aquavite is
Barfly, right?
The bar, yeah, he has it's
good whiskey.
a love of it. They focus. So one of the things you have to do with the new distillers, you have to differentiate yourself. And one of the things that many of these distillers are doing is they're talking about their sustainability, either minimum waste, the landfill, solar powered this, local grains, trying to do what they can to produce great whiskey with a less of a footprint. And then that's very common. I mean, when they started up in the late 2010s, that was kind of a trend, and they're able to make whiskey. Now, what the problem is, sometimes the whiskey is more expensive. So if you're going to charge more for a new distillery and new whiskey, it better be good. I think some of these guys are doing that.
Or you have to be able to explain why it's more expensive.
Yes, that's
and,
correct.
and I think they're trying to hit a niche, and that's fine as long as your whiskey's good. Which they have pretty good whiskey. They do an interesting job of it. Did I see it's the westernmost distillery? Did I see that?
Yeah, there are several. They're all on the west coast.
They're fighting over that, but
Who's the most western?
yeah, I like the fact that it's like partially peated, right? It's like
It reminds you of a Highland Park.
but
Yeah, it does.
Except you can taste the peat.
Well, we may be numb to it. It says
Yeah.
produces both peat and unpeated single malts, right?
So, but it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
So one of the things that you found when you were researching that I think is cool, and it says that you can actually trace their production process online. Is that they're trying to be extremely transparent,
Yeah,
and
so
I
you can-
really appreciate that. I mean, it reminds me of like the Glaziers of the world, right? The Compass Box, like we want you to know what's in it, how it was made.
Can't hide.
We want A to Z.
Yeah.
The more you know, the better we feel, and that's cool. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Historically, Scotch has been fairly opaque unto like
That's true.
how much, what are their finishing, what are the percentages of this, how much is barley, how much is grain.
The secret sauce.
They got a secret formula that they use where these guys are like, hey,
I don't know if it was
Share.
so much secret as they just weren't writing
Keeping
that
track.
down.
well, and that's
very true.
For somebody like Diageo that has this huge
What'd you put in
distillery
that?
with thousands of barrels, that formula probably changes year to year. Because you're formulating to a specific flavor profile,
Right.
not necessarily barrel percentage.
Right.
So that does change year to year, and you can't publish that because I'm going to drink the 2025 version of Johnny Walker Black, which may be different formulation than the 2023 version.
I've always been amazed, not just can't publish it, but I've always been amazed how they can actually reproduce it. I'm like, there's
You know what? I was thinking about that the other day, and if I was going to mass produce something like that you're bringing in ingredients that have variable flavor
Right.
profiles, right? Like, because we've all had single cask whiskeys, right?
Yeah.
But I would imagine if you went to the same distillery that you were sourcing, X number of casks from, and you tasted through a lot of those casks, there would be similar flavor profiles in at least some of them. And I would group those together and write a recipe based on, all right, well, I'm getting, X number of Cardus, and I need 4 barrels of this flavor profile, and you would
From
just
Cardiff, right.
yep, and you just have to go out and taste through all the barrels to see which ones fell into that flavor profile, and they go in the vat.
It just sounds impossible. when you
Well,
talk
and
about
that's
quantity.
why, as a blender, you want your distilleries to produce the same liquid all year long.
Right,
And your
consistently.
casks to be as consistent as possible. So I know if I pull a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, I pretty much know what they're going to taste like. I might sample a few of them and say, okay, I've tasted 2 of those casks, give me 30 of them. And you can just dump them in the batch. And then what you do is once you've got the batch mostly formulated, then you taste again, and then you can add those special barrels to tweak it back to where you want it.
But I think for these younger producers, like you're not going to get, well, Johnny Walker's a blender, but you know, if you're a Glendronach or a Glenfiddich or something like that, you're producing on a much larger scale. You're going to have, over the long haul, your product is going to be fairly similar because you're producing the same thing over time.
Absolutely.
I feel like these guys, smaller production, so you're going to have a little bit more variation in the product, which is interesting for whiskey people.
Yeah,
right?
it
We
is
like that
interesting.
variation.
Yeah.
That's the key that they have is they have the ability to create flavor niches that the big guys probably. I mean, they can do it. They've got the barrels to do it, but they maybe don't want to. It's not worth it to them.
Right.
Whereas when I produce 50 barrels a year, I want those to be unique. I got to produce 3 different bottles
Right.
so I can create a unique. But if I'm producing 1 million cases a month,
So Ardnamurchan, the first one,
Yes.
it's obviously on the rise.
Before you move past it, who has this in their glass right now? Anybody?
I do not. I've
I
tried-
So
That was my last
I want
one.
to talk through it real quick because it's delicious. I had the cast.
really
I didn't
good.
try the other one. I don't know what that one is. If it's an older one, but the cast
this
strength
cast
is
strength?
delicious. It has a, I would say almost like they charred the burr. Like there's a charring note to it as well as the peat. Butterscotch tones, caramel tones, and there's a little bit of funk that's going on to it that I really enjoy as well. It's long finish.
yeah,
it's really good.
my initial review of Ardnamurchans a few years ago was I wasn't a big fan of them because it's not my wheelhouse. It is a lighter whiskey. It is a delicate kind of whiskey, and quite honestly, I got a lot of green young whiskey out of it. But what do you expect? It's a young.
It was a couple years old.
So, but that wasn't my wheelhouse. But when you take your time with it, there's a lot of great flavors in there that you can pull out.
I thought the cask strength was a
enjoyed it. It's
punchy,
delicious.
nice whiskey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the cast strength tonight, which I hadn't tried before, it is. It's different.
It's 5.23.
I want to say hi to our new patron, Justin Boyer. I know he just joined recently. Appreciate you
Nice.
so much.
Cheers,
Glad you're
Justin.
enjoying the
See you
Ardnamurchan.
tonight.
He does a lot of whiskey tastings online, so I'm curious to get you on a Zoom sometime with us, and maybe you
Yep.
can teach us how to do some tastings. But
We always can learn.
always can learn.
Every
But
time I've heard Dan Crowell do his method of tasting multiple times, and every time I learn something. So
It's
He's a
I just
genius,
love
though.
hearing people talk
Yeah.
about whiskey in general. But and very interesting. I've not had a bad one yet, and I think when I first, to your point, I think when I first had them, I was like, oh, okay, not bad, nothing crazy.
Didn't wow you.
Yeah, but this is delicious, and I really like where they're going. And obviously, they're making some good juice.
They're headed in the right direction. I don't see them not succeeding.
Yeah.
Let's just say
I
that.
agree.
Next one that we had on the line, I don't know if it's truly alphabetical or not because I don't know how many we're going through, but this one's interesting because I think this is probably the youngest one.
You know about this one?
So
So,
this is Nc'nean?
yeah. Are we pronouncing that one?
I
right?
don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right.
I think it is Nc'nean.
We're going for it anyway. So this one again hits that sustainability.
Very much
they're like super duper into it. So I think they were like 99.93% of no waste to landfills. Renewable energy, offsetting carbon footprint.
Zero
they're
waste.
Yeah, they did the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, they are.
It was interesting, and so this was a Highland, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is Highland.
Pretty good whiskey. It's got I tried that one earlier. I don't have it in my glass right now, but I would have said like a floral, little bit of herbal note to it. Approachable, softer whiskey.
Do you have in your?
I think they're all single malt too. They
Yes.
only make single malt.
Yeah, I believe so. It was good. She left her job in like 2013 and spent 4 years kind of getting all of the funds together, and then they started bottling in 2020, I believe. So really interesting. They use all organic Scottish barley. So I was interested in that because I'm starting to get back into researching barley again. That's cool. And a lot of the big distilleries are bringing barley in from wherever they can get it. They don't care as long as it meets their criteria. They don't really care. But I am always interested in these smaller distilleries that are like, now we're trying to do it local. We're meeting with the farmers. We're having a conversation about what they're going to grow, and we're trying to use as much as we can. So to me, it feels like farm to table restaurants, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like they're trying to work with the farmer to figure out what the farmer can grow and how they can utilize it.
But that's a whole nother challenge that they're introducing. They're taking that voluntarily, and that could make their life.
It's a gamble.
Short.
Well, I mean, to be honest, all of the things that they talked about doing, I'm like, that's an additional headache, right?
Right.
Like, because it's not enough to just say, well, we're sustainable. You actually have to track that stuff. And it's not enough to just say, well, we're going to try and use organic. Like, you have to certify that is what it is.
I think they're with the B Corp certified. So they've gotten external agencies come in to assess, they're not just talking about it on the website, they're having people verify that they do all that. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a lot more paperwork, headache, and to voluntarily take that on, it's a big challenge.
Do we know how many bottles they have out, how many they've released? I mean,
they had
first 4 and
they had that one. I think there might have been like 2 or 3 more. I can't remember. It was a pretty short lineup.
Right. What's the stats you have there, Drew? When did they open?
2013. First whiskey was released in 2020.
2020 was the first bottle.
And you already hit their big thing is environmental friendliness. I think this is 100% recycled.
That was the other thing.
It says in the bottle, recycled bottle and something else.
Batch BN23.
So they're lightly fruity, aromatic,
are.
herbal, citrus notes.
It's light, delicate.
Yep.
You had something earlier, maybe think about this, like, is barley an issue as far as supply at some point with all these new distilleries, like getting barley, getting sources on some of this stuff, or is it?
Depends on what they need.
Yeah.
It depends on the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just need commodity barley, probably not a big deal because, I mean, there's not a shortage. But
I would say stuff like this is probably riskier. Like if I'm getting commodity barley, I'm just thinking from a farmer standpoint. If you're counting on your county to produce all of the barley that you're going to use in your distillery for the entire year, and then there's a heat wave or torrential rain like Great Britain had a few years ago, and you have a really bad crop or it's a crop that's unusable for the product that you want to produce, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Yeah, then you're down for a year.
You know, versus like a Macallan that's just like, well, Great Britain had a down year, but
Ukraine's fine.
Yeah, and we're just going to buy all our grain from them.
It is a thing. There are distilleries out there that are trying to use local and barley varieties matter. Like India is using different row barley, right? So there's 2 and 6 row. Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
So you have different varieties of barley that make a difference, and distilleries are going out of their way to use specific. In some cases, probably like they are. Now, some of your mass producers, like you said, are probably, Brian, what do you, commodity barley or whatever. But, you've got Springbank. They're doing a local barley bottling every year that's really freaking popular, and it's different every year because it's a different barley. And, I mean, Kilhoman's using local barley, aren't they?
Yep.
So, growing their own stuff,
Right. It is a thing that's
sure.
Like you said, niche.
I think it's nice. It's a nice touch, especially if your big thing is sustainability and all of that kind of stuff. And using that local stuff reduces your carbon footprint. Like you're not shipping the grain from halfway around the world. I kind of get that, but it does open you up to other issues.
Sounds like a good conversation for a barley topic sometime in the future.
Yeah. It is.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. A little foreshadowing, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the one I got in my glass.
I want to actually have some of that Raasay.
That one right there.
This one, Raasay. I love Raasay.
This has got what?
Is this the one
six
itself?
different?
All right, Gregor. Tell us how we pronounce it.
We should just have Gregor be on the show and have him talk about it.
How to pronounce Raasay.
So I love Raasay. I was reading about them today, and they opened in 2017. I think their first bottle was in that 2020 timeframe as well. But the interesting thing about this, Isle of Raasay is there's nobody there. There's nobody on that island. From what I understand, because this distillery is taking off and blowing up, they employ 25 people in their whole process from, all their crew. There's 161 people on the island.
Well, you just said there was no one there. I mean, there's 161 people there.
So this single distillery opened, less than 10 years ago and employs, 20% of the island?
2017.
Now, I'm not saying they're full-time employees, but they have 25 employees out of 161 people.
This sounds like a Netflix or Amazon
It
Prime
does.
show.
We should go over there and check this
Well,
out.
and if you look at their website, they're proud of them. They've got a picture of all their employees on their website, no matter what they're doing. And their average age is less than 30. So there's all these young kids running
they
this
all
distillery. Well, there's only 160 on the island. They've got to be. Even half.
This sounds like Jura. Isn't it the same situation? I mean, isn't Jura on an island?
Doesn't it have more deer on it or more
deer?
cows?
Yeah. That's the thing. So this industry is revitalizing the island because
They've got employment.
They've got employment. They don't have to leave the island to live their life.
Sounds like we get to find some land over there. And
It's
We're trying.
a small island. Small island. That's what we're looking for.
And
All right.
it's got to be brutal in the winter. But
This whiskey is very good.
good.
You like it?
This is the 6-barrel maturation process. All I know is it's got Bordeaux casks in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think American bourbon barrels, ex-bourbon. But I get a little bit of that red wine, and the complexity of the whiskey is really nice. It'll be interesting to see as they get older whiskeys. It's hard to tell when you get a younger whiskey, but every once in a while you'll taste one and you're like, oh, if this was a 15-year or a 20-year, it's really good now. It may be exquisite in another 5 or 10 or 15 years.
And so I don't know. Are they finishing these barrels at 6 barrels? Are they finishing, or are they full aging in them? Because that could go bad.
It looks like they're full. You look at the label. They're taking 3 barrels that are peated and 3 barrels that are unpeated and putting them together.
Okay.
it smells like honey and new make though in the nose.
So
I don't know. Every time I take a sip, I'm like, I get it on the nose.
Gregor's saying that everybody in this chat group needs to go spend a day and a night on the island because it's life-changing.
I'm down.
I'm down. I'm in.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Let's do it.
This is a really good bottle.
Put that together for us, Gregor, and we're in.
Yep.
I will
We're going
say
to double the island population for that night.
All right.
But all right.
We'll bring whiskey.
All three of these bottles that we've just talked about, it's interesting to me because I enjoy new distilleries that are just kind of bringing the heat, right? Like it gets old trying a whiskey that you're like, oh yeah,
So,
Oh, look, another bourbon.
Yeah,
oh, look, another bourbon. Oh, look, another bourbon.
We talked a little bit about this before the show. We were talking, shop before we started, and we were still talking about American single malts and all the American single malts that are out there. And yes, there are some that are just making good, tried and true whiskey, but there are a lot that are, I don't want to say maverick or rogue. They're out there trying to just get creative and just put some stuff together and
put it in Beechwood.
So far, we're talking about new distilleries in Scotland. And instead of getting crazy creative and just throwing together a bunch of stuff to see where they come up, they're all starting off with good, solid, out of the freaking gates. We make good whiskey.
Foundational.
Here's foundation. We make good whiskey.
Yep.
It's only going to get better from here. So now, in a couple of years, when they get creative, I'm going to be like, hell yeah, I trust that. I want to try that creative process because they've already showed me that they know what the hell they're doing.
I feel like this particular distillery would be interesting to go visit to try some of the casks before they start marrying things up. Like, because it feels like this could be a Dalmore situation. Like, what are you doing? Just bottle it like that. You don't have to do anything else. Just
right.
Like that red wine cask finish is amazing. Why don't you just pour that in a bottle?
Now, while I appreciate your creativity, you don't need it.
Right? This is good.
You're
but
overseeing it,
that's
man.
amazing. Like you don't touch it. Or can I just have a barrel of that? Like that's totally
It's like
fine.
classic keyboardists overplaying.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah,
hey,
you
calm
don't-
down. Less notes are better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where you went.
It makes sense to me. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
It's fine.
You don't need to use all your fingers.
All right, guitar player.
I love it, man.
Oh my gosh.
So this one I'm enjoying probably more so because it was given to us by Martin, and I remember when he brought it, a lot of people enjoyed it, and here we still have it. It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
It's been a while, and obviously, we've been saving it to actually talk more about it. But I'm really curious to see what happens with this distillery and where they go. And now Gregor got me wanting to go stay a day or a night or more on the island. I'm done with that.
So do they have a hotel there?
I'm down with a
They can't. With 160 people, who goes there?
Well, he says there's 6 hotel rooms.
People that are doing
6 hotel rooms.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Bucket with
thinking.
me, Mark.
It's like
Yeah,
above the pub
baby.
or whatever, right? But
That's
I mean,
funny.
they got to have someplace for people to stay that are like doing business with the distillery. I
Well,
would think.
people
Bring your own tent.
Yes, but people don't spend the night. They come to the island for the day and they leave because the infrastructure is.
I'm spending the night because I took too many samples of that cask strength,
Well, that's why you have a driver.
and I'm sleeping on the barrel now.
Interesting. I liked it a lot.
That's good.
So we've got a couple of that we have listed here that we don't even have. I don't know anything about these.
Maybe we
Some
should.
of them I've never even
Maybe we
heard
should
of.
wait for those until because we're going to do a part 2 on this.
We can do part 2 on those.
could.
Well, before we
got-
finish,
we've
though,
got
I do
other
want to
stuff.
talk about this last page because there's 2.
Oh.
Yes.
There's 2 on here.
That was the ones I was
I
skipping
am
to.
super
So-
excited about.
Yeah, so these are ones that they're just opening now, right? They're not. They're not producing whiskey.
They're not
They're
producing
not
it yet.
producing whiskey yet.
Yeah.
So these are Port Ellen and Rosebank.
Say what?
Any whiskey aficionado knows that name, but they don't know the liquid that's coming out now because nobody. Well, I guess you probably can buy some new make, but you don't know the whiskey.
It's not the same mash bill of old.
It's not the same.
can't
It's
be.
different
not
building.
the same
Different-
stills.
Yeah.
Right.
In most
Right.
cases, so was it one of them? I think. I can't remember. what it was.
Port Ellen was like the stills were gone, everything was.
Yeah,
Everything was
they
gone.
shut
Done.
shut down in 1993, and then copper thieves
83.
broke in
Yep.
and destroyed the stills, and so it's
Yeah.
like starting from scratch.
Now-
Theoretically, it's the same design.
Now, both of these distilleries, you can still buy their old whiskeys.
Yes, you can.
Good
You gotta
luck.
have money.
There's a release every year. The current owners will release the mothballed barrels because when you buy a mothballed distillery, you get all the old stock.
Yeah, so that's how they're
Hell
paying
of
the
an
bill.
investment for them, wasn't it?
Well, that's
had to be
something that
expensive.
you have up above these startup companies is you've got a known name. Like people know Rosebank, they know Port Ellen, they've got very good reputations.
Yep.
I've had whiskeys from both distilleries. They were exquisite.
Yep.
Amazing.
I will say one of the Port Ellens was much better than the other ones that I've had. Like that was the one that we left on my bar for like 6 months because we didn't know what it was when we first started.
right.
Oh yeah. What's
Yeah.
Port Ellen?
I would imagine, though,
choice.
guys.
Something
Not
like
even
that.
realizing what we had.
So can you put the
it's
comment
hilarious.
up by Jimmy JS?
Yeah, I would imagine that they're going to do their absolute best. It's the wrong person. To make this as close to what they did before, right?
Yeah, and
The new
the
make
thing
tastes like
is,
new
is no matter how hard they try, how many stories have we heard of, a distillery buying a new still and bringing it in, and they're like, "Shit, stuff doesn't taste the same. Damn it. I mean, it's the same spec still, but it doesn't taste the same. We got a new one, or we washed our still and washed all the funk out of it, and now our new make's not coming out the same flavor. So they're not going to be able to exactly reproduce it.
No.
It's just not
No.
possible.
They can use a similar processes, similar shaped still,
Similar ingredients.
and
As
try to
close
shoot
as
for
you
a
can
similar
get.
flavor profile.
Right.
Like because
Sure.
where you make your cuts matter, like how you're aging this stuff matters.
Yeah, how long you
So,
ferment.
yeah.
If you follow the same recipe of fermentation time, mashing time, distillation time, grain bill as much as you can, still shape as much as you can, cuts where you historically you can get maybe close, but
I mean,
Wow.
the problem I would foresee is it's kind of like a famous restaurant shutting down. So let's say the French Laundry shuts down, right? It's closed for 15 or 20 years, but everybody still remembers the name of the laundry and they wish that it was open because that was the best meal they ever had in their life. And then a new chef buys it.
Gets the name.
And gets the name and is going to try to recreate it, but it's not the same staff and it's not the same thing. And it might be good, but it's not the same restaurant.
it's not the same.
Right.
So-
and these two distilleries have risen to they've got a cult following. They're almost like a historic. They've been built up probably more than they were when they were running because of what the history of it all.
As far as mothballed distilleries go, because I've got some favorites that aren't around anymore that I can buy. I just opened that bottle of Imperial a couple of months ago, and it was exquisite.
Right.
And that distillery is gone,
Yeah.
and has been for a long time. And I picked that bottle up for like $300. It wasn't that expensive.
Right.
Like you're not going to touch a Rosebank or a Port Ellen for under
$300.
$3,000, $4,000.
No.
Like they're expensive. So they've got a lot to live up to. I don't envy the people that are running those distilleries because there's going to be a lot of critics.
Well, you can say for sure, Port Ellen's got plenty of capital. Diageo, right? I don't know about Rosebank. I think they're independent still, right? They're not owned by anybody.
McLeod.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then they got money too.
Yeah.
They're selling bottles now of really expensive whiskey.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
Which
influx
helps
of funds.
offset
Yeah.
a lot of this. So, and they've still got old whiskeys, that they can go back and try and recreate.
I can't
the
believe they
flavor
still have
profile.
barrels of that. I mean, it's been 30 years and you still have barrels of that left?
Yeah, but I mean, if you
fantastic.
thought you were, because these guys got to lay down a ton.
Oh,
of whiskey.
I don't doubt that they're going to
So
lay
if
down.
you were if you were laying down whiskey like you thought you were going to be open tomorrow and then you weren't,
Right.
there's a lot of barrels.
Yeah,
and they weren't
30
selling.
years worth?
Right, but they weren't selling off these barrels initially. It was just a
Just
closed
sitting there.
distillery that was
Yeah.
just sitting
Right.
there. And then they bought it, 5 or 10 years ago, and they've been selling off a couple of barrels. Like
Yeah.
they're not selling off a ton because, keeping the supply low means they can charge $3,500.
That's really good too. The
Might as
lag.
well try it.
Yeah. So I mean, we got all kinds of bottles over here we haven't touched yet. But I mean, to the point in the subject tonight, pretty impressed with the new stuff coming out. I mean,
Everything we tried tonight was very
it's
good.
good, right?
Yeah, and we could have there's a whole other discussion on other new distilleries that are like opened in 2023 or 2024. That'll be another night. We got other things we need to talk about tonight, so
Yeah.
we'll move on from that.
Now, there's a note to be made for, I don't know how many folks are out there watching or where everyone's located, but, because these are so new, you may not see them on your shelf.
It's
they
hard
may
to
be
find.
harder
That is
to get a
correct.
hold of. These new distilleries have to overcome that logistic channel chain problem. I mean, in Scotland, it's probably a heck of a lot easier. But
It's not just logistics, it's how many bottles they produce.
sure. I mean,
yeah.
they're not putting out tens of 20s of thousands of bottles. It might be 5,000 bottles.
And if I were them, I would sell every bottle I can in
Locally.
Scotland.
I was just gonna say you can get them in Scotland.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get them here. You're gonna get maybe 1-2 bottles here, so if you're lucky. But in Scotland, they're gonna have the mass production. Yeah.
Which
So,
leads back to I want to go to Scotland and not come back.
do we need to move there and just?
Yes.
Have a house?
Yes, we do. Damn.
So apparently this one's heavily peated.
That's what it said on the label.
Yeah, we'll have to do the lives though at 4 a.m. if we move to Scotland though.
We'll have to make it work.
We'll make it work.
All right, guys. Fun topic, Andrew. I like this.
yeah.
We sounds like we have a lot to talk about in the future. I love the idea of barley talk coming up, maybe potentially, and some other things. We could probably talk about this for weeks, honestly. So much good stuff.
So I put together a list of different distilleries to go through. We got through about half of them. So that would tell you that there's a lot out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, let's time to move on here. I think it's time for a few more things. As you can see in the bottom of the slide, the ticker, if you will, we've got a few things coming up. Next up, I think it's time to introduce a new segment for us. You guys ready for this?
Sure.
You have an intro?
What's that?
Can you slide the ticker?
I can't slide the ticker. It's going to slide. You just watch it. It's
Okay.
going to magically
I want to
happen.
watch
Really?
it.
But we have a new thing. So we wouldn't be here without the support of you all and our patrons, and we really appreciate it. And one of the things that we are very in tune with our patrons. I'm lifelong friends with some of them as well. Really good people, and we thought it would be great to not only share our friendship with us, but with you guys as well, and get to know more about these people and what's going on and their passions. So I'd like to welcome to the stage, if you will, a good friend of ours,
A patron of ours.
patron of ours. Kim, how are you?
Hi.
There you are.
Good.
You didn't do an intro. You didn't do a fancy intro.
I'm not
music
good.
and-
I'm not good at that stuff, man.
All
I'm just
right.
gonna bring her on and talk about it, and I gotta bring up some questions while you guys talk to her for a
But
second.
I mean, we're going to let her share what she wants to share with everyone here. There are several people on the chat that know Kim because they're patrons as well. And I think part of the goal, Kim, was there are a lot of patrons we have out there that aren't nearly as connected or involved as some of the patrons like yourself. And so the goal is to sort of expose our patrons that are involved with our ones that aren't, and maybe build the community a little more, because you know as well as I do, the community is wonderful. So haven't seen you in a long time. You look wonderful. It's great to see you. I want to start off by saying Sláinte.
Sláinte.
I got pour some.
What are you doing?
Amen.
So how did you
right here.
become a
Let's reach this
patron?
one.
What was kind of your story of getting involved in the whiskey community?
Well, so I started out years and years and years ago, probably like 15 to 20 years ago. I started out in being really interested in mixology and cocktails. I think it kind of was like a next progression for me from cooking. I think my whole life I've been really interested in flavor, and sort of also how you can create something out of nothing, and how what you create is essentially a story about yourself and your where you're from, and also when you cook or when you make a cocktail or when you drink a spirit, it's not just about you bring to it what you have, but you're experiencing what the person who made it brings to it as well. And so I've always just been really into like flavor and story, and found these things to kind of mix both of those things. So started out in cocktails, and then kind of made my way through different spirits. Got really into gin for a while, which I thought was such a cool, like seeing gins from all over the world was the first time I really understood that, things had kind of like a terroir, and having a Greek gin that had Greek herbs in it that I had never heard of before was just like blew my mind. And then after gin, I got really into rum, which I'm still very, very into. I mean, talk about a global spirit. It's unbelievable the amount of you could learn about rum, and you'll never learn it all. And my whole life I hated whiskey. I mean, I couldn't stand the stuff.
I can't believe that.
It was. I just, but what happened was, as I was drinking rum, I started drinking some rums that were sort of closer to whiskey, like the Barbados rums. They kind of had a bourbony flavor to it, and I guess my palate changed a little bit. I started getting into bourbon, and then a friend of mine, a rum friend of mine, was like, you really should try Scotch. It's the best of the whiskeys. And I read a book by Heather Green called Whiskey Distilled, which is a fabulous book mostly about taste and palate, and had a couple scotches, and then my mind was just blown, and I was like, this is the peak, this is the pinnacle, and
Awesome.
the rest is history, I guess.
That's neat. Yeah, but the thing is interesting, I'm getting, so when you speak about it this way, it sounds like this flavor is a passion for you. This is like your career, this is your job. It's not, though. You're not a chef, you don't do this. So that's interesting that there's a parallel. You have your hobbies that you're so passionate about, but they don't necessarily align with your work. And I think for me, I'm the same way. I don't do whiskey for work, but I enjoy doing that.
Yeah, well,
I do
not
whiskey
yet.
for work.
Yeah.
Well, I can
yet.
tell that
That's true.
maybe it's the book that you read, but your palate, your nose, your experience, your ways of talking through a whiskey are very formidable, Kim. You are really fun to go through blinds with, because it's
school me every time.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any one of the four of us that go toe to toe with you and win. You're really, really good at it. I enjoy it, and you've got a plethora, a great wide variety of whiskeys that we've been fortunate to share back and forth. So that's always been fun. But Drew, what's our next question that we have teed up for Kim?
Well, so I have a
Thank
question
you.
for you. Going through the blind advent calendar with you recently, I got to know your flavor profile a little bit. But I do have a question for you. So do you prefer smoky, sweet, or spicy flavor profiles, and why?
Well, actually, I'm interested now to hear what you think my flavor profiles are, because I kind of align with Mark, whereas like I'm not going to use Mark's phrase because it's a little crude, but I mean, I really love everything. I will tell you that rather than kind of going in the smoky, sweet, or spicy, because I think they each have their place and time. I think if you ask me my favorite profile, which I don't know is a real profile, is like the outdoors. Like if a whiskey reminds me of any form of nature, it like grabs my heart, right? Like if I feel like you can taste the air, sunshine, flowers, dirt. I mean, to me, I just find that to be such a transportative experience. And the ones that I get that from are really, really special to me.
So what does sun taste like?
I don't know.
I
It's a Highland.
I understand what
It's a Highland.
and earth and herbal and all. I can get all those, but bright. I guess the brightness is kind of that sunshine that comes out.
Yellow.
Right.
It tastes
Bright
like
and
yellow.
warm.
You can
It
taste
tastes
yellow.
like
Damn right. I taste colors all the time. What are
Yes, you do, Mark.
Well, you know, it's funny. There was a, I mean, that's a really good point. Like, right, you can't taste sunshine, right? But that's what whiskey does, right? You taste something, and all of a sudden you get a feeling.
Yeah, it triggers. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a memory thing for me.
Memories are huge.
Yeah. So, Kim, what was your most memorable dram? And was it memorable because of the whiskey? Was it memorable because of the people you were with? Something you were eating?
The place? Yeah.
That's an interesting question. The most memorable dram I've ever had.
Do you want to take a second and I'll share a story with you?
Yeah, please.
So we always talk about some of our groundbreakers that just kind of were transportive, I guess, and kind of blew our minds and
Mind-blowing,
opened up with whiskey and what it could be. And I think that the bottle of Ardbeg Ugadale that we first purchased, and we hated it, all four of us. Like, I never ever thought we would open that bottle again.
I was like,
it was
no.
disappointing. But then Mark and I had probably had too many whiskeys.
They did.
That never happened.
We were on a fishing trip, and these two went to bed, and we stayed up way too late, and we were smoking cigars, and I think we drank everything else, so we went for the Ardbeg, and it was mind-blowing because we almost woke everybody up because we were like, it's sweet, and it's like, this isn't the same whiskey. It's amazing.
Right, it was delicious.
But there was a campfire and cigars and just good people to be with.
The moment.
And so all of that combined, but it was the flavor that just kind of opened up and kind of transported us to a different place.
It was a magical experience.
And we wanted to share it.
Yeah.
So that one's one that always comes to my mind for us.
Yeah, that's a really great story. I think mine, it's probably pretty basic. My husband and I went to Scotland a couple of years ago, and we did I think it's the Lefroy water to something tour, and you take that walk out of Lefroy and you go to their water source and you sit at a picnic table, and it was actually just like us and one other couple and the guy from Lefroy, and he was just a great guy, and we had some Lefroy 10 cask strength, and you're sitting there in the middle of Scotland in nature drinking this astounding scotch, and so it's probably pretty not very unique to answer this, scotch that I had in Scotland. But I mean, to me, it was like coming home, right? My ancestry is is Scottish, so that was a part of it too. And it was, that was just pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think that's a great story. I don't think that's pedestrian at all. Like,
for sure, right?
Well, so that tells you it doesn't necessarily need to be a super high dollar whiskey to do it. It's the moment.
No.
Yeah. Well, you're having that dram in the place it was born, and well, you can kind of like see where it grew up and taste, smell the air, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
That's a great story.
Oh, you want me to tell you this one? All right, Kim, what's your favorite part of the Scotch for Dummies community? And you don't have to say me.
Yes, she does.
No, you don't.
Which one?
I mean, it's
You want this?
it's the community, it's what you guys have built. It's the people. You can get whiskey content anywhere, and you guys do a fantastic job, better than most. But what you guys have built, the connections that we've made, I mean, as Drew said, I hope you guys are my lifelong friends, and it's real special. Like it's unparalleled, and I've been so honored to be a part of it.
Raising glass to that.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
You're a really big part of it, though, Kim. I actually, sometimes I see you and some of the other patrons who hopefully filter through this segment as well, doing tastings and sending samples and little side conversations where you're getting together, this, that, and the other. I know that some of us came up and visited you this, in the summer, and it's, to me, the community is huge, but there's always an opportunity. If you want to have a dram with someone tonight, there's someone in the community that is dying to have a dram too. You just you got to get connected.
Yeah, the cool thing about that is if you travel for work and you go into many communities, it's like, hey, I'm in Portland this week for work. Well, there's probably a patron there you can have a dram with. It's really cool to be able to do that.
Chuck's his name.
You may have seen them on the lives, or you may have seen them on the Zoom calls and things, but then to be able to sit in a bar with them, it's like totally cool.
It is.
Yeah,
cool.
and when you get to go to like events, like special events, like barrel or bottle, and you see someone like Kim there, and you find out that she's like an avid karaoke singer, and you're like, boom, like you see like a whole nother aspect
I was
of life.
looking at pictures of that like 2 days ago. I was scrolling through, and there's a picture of Kim sitting on the couch with the mic in her hand. I'm like, that was right before she went freaking next level.
She can go off. Eminem.
It's awesome.
So fun.
That was good.
I think Drew has video evidence of this somewhere.
I do have video.
Yeah.
I can't believe you allowed him to
well, that's
retain that
Dude,
video.
she was in the moment.
That's my thing. No. Mom spaghetti. That's my thing, because I have like evidence in all you guys. It's called it's called leverage.
Definitely there's leverage.
Well, it's only leverage if you have shame.
Right.
There's no shame. Once you do this live, there's no shame.
I have put out videos that I'm like, well, if I worked for
don't
somebody,
matter.
I'd probably get fired for this one, but I don't work for anybody, so it's fine.
I feel like there was some mutually assured destruction that evening. That
Very much
we
so.
all,
Yeah,
we all
well,
have some leverage.
It is what it is.
So, and one more question for you is what is the most unique place, or a unique place that you've enjoyed a dram of scotch besides your
besides
moment?
Lafroy.
I mean, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
It's from the same trip.
Okay.
We had an amazing tour guide, sort of a driver in Scotland, and she had a trunk full of scotch. And we were just on the side of the road, and she opened up her trunk, and there was just, bottle after bottle after bottle, and I had like a sherry Daft Mill single cask, like in her trunk on the side of the road, like. That was pretty cool.
You'll never see that bottle again the rest of your life, right?
I have a similar story, and so I was with Roy and some other Scotchies, and it's what they call a boot dram. So you open the boot of your car, and you've got whiskey in there, and you just pull out a glass and have a boot dram.
That's a thing. A boot dram.
You know what's funny? If you were in like the southern United States, it'd be super redneck. But you go to Scotland, and it's like, this is amazing.
It's fancy. Wait a minute, you're drinking whiskey. You're drinking whiskey out of the back of your car. It does sound redneck, admittedly, but it's also fancy.
I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I'm just, it's all circumstances. Location makes a difference.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, Kim, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you don't leave yet, because we're going to do some trivia. We'd like for you to participate along with the chat as well.
I do. I want to, Kim. I know you're on our Discord, our patron Discord, and I just want to make sure that our other patrons that are on Discord that maybe aren't as involved in conversation know what your Discord handle is, so they know if they want to reach out to you and say, they saw you tonight and want to maybe get to know you or talk. They got questions about your Scotch, because hey, Kim's got quite a collection. She knows what she's talking about.
Well educated in the Scotch, in the whiskey world, rum world, anything. She's very, very
haven't scratched the surface with her on rum, because I don't know if I have enough life for that.
We need to get Tom R on against her. Tom R and her on at the same time talking about rum.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's your Discord handle?
It's KLG223.
KLG223. So patrons out there on the Patron channel on Discord, if you want to message Kim to say hi or ask her questions, and there's how you get a hold of her. She's involved in the conversation, so it's not like she's a stranger out there.
Well, we love you, Kim. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
and we're going to
Kim.
get you on some trivia here. We're going to get you some trivia here to see if how good you are with the the questions here and in the chat as well. So hopefully this goes smoothly.
All right, Maestro.
We'll see what happens here. So name this Scotch distillery. I thought this was kind of an interesting
Is that
trivia.
Port Ellen?
It's actually
that's not the
that's
question.
technically Gin AI, so it's
it's
a generic
AI?
distillery. But based on tonight's topic,
Sorry.
What?
Okay.
You didn't put our pictures on it or something?
I could have.
Yeah, like on each
Maybe
building,
a logo or something.
one
That would've
face
been
on each
badass.
building. That'd be awesome.
But I thought, in kind of the theme tonight, we'll talk about distilleries only. So,
Okay.
if you're all ready, should we start with number one?
Sure.
Are we supposed to answer?
Uno.
So we'll just go through the first one here. So why don't you read it, Mark?
What unique experiment did Ardbeg conduct in 2011 involving whiskey maturation? Aging whiskey underwater off the coast of Iowa? Sending whiskey to space to study microgravity effects? Aging whiskey in volcanic rock casks? Or using a solar-powered warehouse for maturation?
So we'll give everybody like 15 seconds because of the time delay.
So,
But,
so post your answer in the chat.
yeah, A, B, C, or D. You guys should know how to play this by now. Kim, you have some thoughts here?
2011.
I think I'd go water or volcano. And
Water?
considering they have more access to the water than the volcano, I'm going to go underwater.
Interesting.
I was hoping it was the space one just
So,
because.
I was going to guess space too, but
It's not, but-
2011, I think they did that later on, didn't they? Didn't Ardbeg do that with one of theirs, like maybe 2016ish, 2017?
But B is coming up pretty strong in the chat.
Yeah.
They sent a cask
Can you
to outer
scroll
space
through
in
the
the boot of a
chat
Tesla.
and see if what everyone says? Because if everyone says B, I'm going.
He hasn't said anything yet. So whatever
But
everyone
George
says.
Kaplan said B. So
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Ardbeg. I'm going with B.
Everyone said A.
Oh,
So here we go. The question one answer is sending
Whiskey.
whiskey
I'm
to
a
space.
genius. I know
you
everything.
got the year off, but how long did they age it up there?
I don't know.
Come on, man.
I don't have the this is
It was,
information.
put the
It was
science
supposed to be a
down.
month, but the rocket broke and it's been stuck up there.
Well, that's Boeing. Boeing does it. This is before Boeing did anything.
All right, Sean, read the next one for it.
What is the primary type of oak used for Macallan's sherry cask range? American white oak, French oak, European oak, or Japanese Mizunara casks?
I would imagine a lot of people are going to get this one right.
It's
They
not
should,
because
hopefully.
I'm not peeing. You know what I mean?
You're not peeing?
What do you think, Kim? Got any thoughts on this one? Or not?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
I think she left.
She didn't want to be
We
part
lost
of this. She was afraid of the McKellen conversation.
No, I didn't leave. Although I actually, in McAllen, I know very little about.
You want to take a guess?
So I would guess maybe. Hold on, I gotta look at the graphic. I'm gonna say American white.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm going to say the same just because of the pure number, the amount, the volume
Yeah,
of
yeah.
American white that's out there.
You're going with C?
I'm going.
We got a lot of C's, a lot of A's. We got a lot
C,
of people all over the place here in chat here. So
Okay.
let's get the answer. The answer is European.
I'm not peeing anywhere.
you know why? Because it's sherry.
Yeah.
I figured maybe
Very good.
See? Science
Man,
there. He's
freaking-
using
he's using
science.
his
No,
Jeopardy skills, man.
I read the whole question.
All right, Alex, you didn't form the phrase of a question. That's bullshit.
I'm so cynical about McAllen. I figured they like seasoned it or something.
Oh, they for sure did.
The seasoned American white oak with sherry. So Glenfiddich is credited with pioneering what innovation in the whiskey industry? A, first single malt marketed internationally. B, first whiskey aged in rum casks. C, first whiskey to use chill filtration. And D, the first whiskey or distillery to employ.
I like this question. This is a good one.
So Glenfiddich.
Man, that's
All right, Kim.
a tough question.
That's a
Actually.
tough question. What are you going to go with?
Glenfiddich is old enough to have done probably all of those.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer too. That's exactly my answer.
I'm going to go with.
I mean, I'll go with women because I want.
That's what I was. I want to go with D. I want it to be D. I want it to be.
I'm going to give you a hint. The chat is saying A right now. So,
There hasn't been anything but A in the chat.
The thing is, I can't believe that like in the 1800s there weren't women in the distillery. doing
they
some
were in the
jobs.
distillery. They just weren't given credit for working there.
Well, that could be.
That's
That
the
could be.
bullshit.
They weren't employed.
Right. They were slaves.
They weren't paid.
The first single malt marketed internet. Really?
Yeah.
I wonder when that. What do you have? a
I don't
date?
know.
That's got to be a lot. I mean, wow, that's amazing. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe we need to add little facts next time we do
Yep.
this. All right.
That'd be nice.
This is true,
References.
That's right. What is the approximate phenol level ppm of Lafroig's malted barley? It's A, 20 to 25 ppm, 40 to 45 ppm, 50 to 55 ppm, or 70 to 75 ppm. What do you think, Andrew?
That is smoked phenol level prior to mashing the barley, because you can only measure it then.
Yeah. That was my question. Was when is it?
Yes, that's when it's still dry, after it's been essentially dried after malting.
So how many pp's are in your M?
Come on, man. Wow, that's a loaded question.
right,
So
then I'm gonna
Lafroig's
go
pretty
C.
potent, so I got to go 70, 75. I don't know.
Kim said
honestly
C.
don't
I
know.
heard that.
I was thinking C.
I got to go D.
We've got B's and C's right now on the chat.
When in doubt, you guess C.
That's always kind of the default, right?
It's kind of the default.
Let's see what we got here. The answer
Let's see.
is
Yeah.
C.
Crushing it.
I was close.
That's how I got through high school.
C.
Just C. Yeah, that explains a lot.
Jesus.
All right, Mark.
Play the odds.
Play the odds. What unique feature distinguishes Lagavulin distillation process? Exceptionally long fermentation times, slow distillation for over 5 hours in the wash still, exclusive use of sherry casks for maturation, or a triple distillation process.
Or E, Offerman kisses every barrel.
It's all right. It's Lagavulin, right? So let's think about this.
Mean him.
Lagavulin Offerman. It's
pretty
the
good.
charred oak cask.
But you know
Golden
what?
Girl.
It's lighter after the log.
Yeah,
Is it?
This
Yeah.
log is really nice to drink.
Yeah. It's
We got 4. Well, okay.
Trooper said 4. The answers are A, B, C, D. Trooper, I know you guys got snow down there, and you're probably not thinking right. So
Well, he also had C up top, so I don't
Okay,
know what he's
so
talking
I'm
about.
gonna say B.
I like B too, because I don't think I know they.
I think it's A.
There are
I like
non-sherry.
What's
What did George say?
A with a hint of B.
See, I thought Lagavulin was a really aggressive fermentation or distillation process, but I'm thinking,
You know
so I'm
what?
thinking A.
You know what the answer is?
Yes, what's the answer? B.
Boom!
What? I'm wrong.
It's all right.
See?
It's all right.
It's
See, this is why we have Drew arranging these questions, because we're...
I don't know. I'm out here crushing.
You are.
Sean's, I think he's all right.
Sean's shooting the moon.
All right,
man.
Sean.
Maybe Sean will put the questions.
When did Glenlivet receive the first legal license to distill whiskey in Scotland?
I think I
So
know.
not
it.
when did they start distilling? When did they receive the
see
license
what
to
he did there?
legally distill?
Smart
You
man.
read the whole question,
I
right?
know the answer to that.
1815, 1824, 1830, or 1836?
Do the bottle.
Ooh.
Do
Kim?
the bottle. Glenfiddich.
Wild guess.
C.
C.
No,
1830.
Nope.
No, I don't know, because we had a whole C thing going on, so
I know, but
I have no idea.
So you think you know?
Stuff for work's on a roll today. He's got last week at 1 for 10.
I'm with Chuck. Malt Minion. B.
They're saying B. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what
Yeah, I
let's
was
see what the
thinking
answer is.
Well, give him a second to.
Oh, everybody's going B now.
Well, yeah, once you say it.
I mean, Mark's been wrong a lot, so don't go off of whatever he said.
Are you kidding me? Are you?
But he was right in this case.
Kidding me? It's me. It's Mark.
Hey, it's
It's
me. I'm the
Mark.
one. It's me.
Oh.
All
Oh
right.
my God.
Taylor Swift here.
That's right.
Whose turn is it?
Me.
Andrews.
Balvenie grows its own barley at its farm, which is located in what area? A. Dufftown. B. Rothes. C. Elgin. Or D. Aberlour.
I thought it was located in Balvenie. Son of a bitch.
Turn his mic off.
Was your family farm the Broda farm, or was it?
Turn his mic off.
So hang on, we got a bunch of
Playoffs.
playoffs. Right, there you go. Are you kidding me? Everybody says Dufftown. That sounds pretty
what do you
legit.
think, Kim?
No, there's some Rothes on there.
Mees.
I was gonna say A, I think.
So Dufftown.
I'm gonna say
Dufftown.
I'm gonna say B. I don't know
I
for
gotta
sure
go
though.
with.
I'm going with our guest. Kim's smart.
Kim is smart.
No.
Yeah.
Dufftown.
She's not my short list of farm
Because
friends.
this is
yeah.
Belvini, not Glenrothes.
That's right.
That's right.
So they distill it. They grow in Dufftown. Yeah.
What year was Highland Park officially licensed?
Oh,
1798, 1825, 1840, or 1875?
These
I'm
are
going to say C or D. I'm not sure here.
I'm going to say A, B, C, or D.
one of those four. Yeah, probably. I'm thinking B.
I was
What's your
gonna
guess?
say B.
B, 1825?
Well,
I'm
they
gonna
didn't
say
start
C.
issuing out license. They didn't
Only
start
because
doing
that was the same. Wasn't it the same year-ish that the last one was?
That's exact. See, that was my logic too.
That's pretty
It
smart.
was 1824 for
Handing out
whatever
licenses.
Glenfiddich.
Where you get a license, you get a license, you get a license.
I'm going to go with C.
Because they
Yeah, I'm
realized
going with
once,
C.
once they start issuing licenses, they can tax it.
Oh, we got Joe saying B, Tom saying D.
But Highland Park's up north, and it took a while to
yeah,
get up
it's
there.
Orkney,
To
man.
That's a good point. That's
a
a very
ways
good
those,
point.
those dudes were distilling. They just didn't care to get a license.
1798, y'all.
How do they get a license?
So how did they
Oh.
get a license to do that when Glenlivet was the first one that was...
To market internationally?
all right, Google's wrong. Damn
The
AI.
first one to market internationally.
I think it's
They did.
wording. I think it's wording.
Which Glendronach release was named after the distillery's founder? Glendronach Revival, Glendronach Allardyce, Glendronach Parliament, Glendronach Original. Because the founder's first name was
Original?
Hint, hint.
It's not D.
And he was in Parliament. So
Hey, so
He had his first revival in
so this one might be pretty obvious, but we'll see. Kim?
Yeah, I'll go B.
I'm not going to waste my time.
I'm going to say
Yeah,
Glendronach
it's just B.
18.
All right, last one, Sean.
all right. Oh, Deanston's distinctive waxy character in its single malts is primarily due to which of the following production choices? Non-chill filtration, use of virgin oak casks, long fermentation times of over 100 hours, copper pot stills with unusual flat tops.
Or E, fermenting with burnt toast.
I like E.
It's adding that gunk from the previous fermenter into the still.
So good.
That picture, I still look at every once in a while. I'm like, that's so gross, but it makes it so
It's
yummy.
magic. It is the magic of
So
whiskey.
this is a good question, and I can't read the full question. Minimize that for a second, Drew, because this one I'm curious to know. Primary due to. I don't think it's A or B.
I'm going to go C.
I'm actually
Or
gonna go
D.
D.
I
I
gotta
think
go
D
C.
makes this unique.
C
I'd
with a
say
little bit of D.
You're saying D, Kim?
Yeah.
I think that's what makes.
Because I would think it has to do with, like you said, like the gunk that's in the stills, right?
We'll see. I mean,
A lot
I
of
don't
people are
think.
saying C right
Where's
now. in the
Dr.
chat.
Scotch when we need him?
Well, and who all here have been to Deanston?
Oh wow.
What's your answer?
I say C.
C.
I don't know if it's right.
Well, then it's probably C.
Oh, what do you know?
Mr. Know-it-all
I didn't-
cheating. I've been there.
I don't remember their stills having a flat top, but you know, we were drinking whiskey in the parking lot beforehand. So
Fair
All
enough.
right, so how did
Out of a
everybody
boot.
do? Kim, how'd you do tonight?
Oh, did I try?
Half?
Not
50-50?
great.
Not great. We'll
I'll
still
take
drink
that.
to that.
I'll take it.
Yep.
I feel pretty good, but I drank after every answer, so
So you went to your scale went down. It's all good.
it was fine.
There were fun questions though. I mean,
Yeah,
some of them.
interesting.
I think if you read the question like Sean did and thoroughly, you were able to eliminate some. But some of them were definitely
Challenging.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, those years, you really have to know your whiskey.
I
trivia.
questioned the Highland Park one at 1798.
Well, you can create the trivia next time.
No, it has nothing. I'm going to go and research.
But they were
it.
licensed to kill seals, not brew, not just the whiskey.
Exactly.
What he said.
Probably true.
All right,
I'm
Kim,
really
we're gonna.
impressed with everybody in the like everybody knew all the answers. It was great.
That's the crazy thing.
They all have Google at their disposal. You're on camera. You really couldn't type it out. So don't give them too much credit, Ken.
I'll tell you, Ethan is always good. Like he killed it last week. He got 8 for 10 this week. Malt Minion's got 8 for 10. Trooper's got 8 for 10. I'm a little ashamed of everyone 6 for 10. Like the space stuff, I think he should have knocked that one out. But we'll give him credit.
He probably got that one right. Come on.
Gosh, you're gonna shame him? Oh my gosh. No, they were fun. But what's next on the handle?
Well, the next one is a Patron giveaway. But Kim, I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. It was great to get to know you. We'll see you, I'm sure, on Zoom or whatever. But we love you. Thanks so much.
Love
Thank
you very
for
much,
having
Kim.
me. Love you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Kim.
Night.
All right, guys. So the next thing is the Patron giveaway. I need to set it up just for a second so we can talk.
All right.
Patron giveaway.
Talk amongst ourselves. That's always dangerous.
So what are we giving away? I guess that's.
I think we should give away some of these new distilleries.
We have to be careful about which ones we do. So the Isle of Harris has enough for us to maybe get a review.
Not that
of.
one.
Can't give that one away.
I've had the Raasay, the Ardnamurchan, and
The Nc'nean's got a lot,
Sure.
and that's probably hard to get.
Yeah, it's harder to get.
So would you rather do? I think Ardnamurchans are probably easier to come by. I really feel
Let's
like
go-
there's.
let's
how
go
about the
those two.
lag?
So all
Yeah.
right, there you go. So we'll do a Raasay, a Nc'nean,
Okay.
and a lag. That's really cool. And honestly, all three of these are a wee bit peated, right?
That's right.
Not that one.
The
Well, that
Nc'nean
one's
is not. Right, so the lags have heavily peated.
I was going to say that's not a wee bit
Yeah,
peated.
and this is non-peated. So they're
It
in
averages out,
order
yeah.
of peat, right? So heavily peated, mildly peated, non-peated.
All right, so let's give our first winner. You want to do lag first?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Let's see what it is.
Make notes.
Yep.
The winner is
Dun 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 dun.
Mr. Kenny.
Hang on, leave that up.
Mr. Kenny K.
All right.
All right.
Congratulations. You're the proud owner of a sample
A
of
little
this
sample
lag.
of lag.
Of lag. The heavily. Hope you like peated whiskey. He's like, damn, I ate.
You will after this one. It's going to make you.
It's going to make you like it.
So
All
the
right.
next one is Raasay.
Raasay. Here we go.
Dun dun dun.
That one was really good. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
The lime or the Raasay. I did.
Well, all of them actually, but Raasay was good.
Lana. That's
Nice.
Dude, I know her. I've sent a lot of
Yeah,
samples
she's
to
had
her,
some
so
samples before.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
This will be a good one for her.
She knows her whiskey. She'll
Yep.
enjoy
That's
it.
good because I don't think she's a big peat head, so we're doing the.
That's
Raasay
good.
for her, yeah.
That's good. And then the next one is what?
Nc'nean.
Nc'nean.
All right.
Nc'nean.
Let's see who wins this one.
Yeah, I
Say
think
it
you got to
fast,
say
right?
it fast.
Say it fast.
Nc'nean.
Like a
That
marsupial.
covers up the fact that we're not saying it right.
Like a marsupial. It looks like Steve
Steve
Dunn.
Dunn.
All right.
All
So
right.
we will send a 1 to 2 ounce sample depending on the bottles I've got, and we got plenty here, so we can.
Yeah, we'll make it
Probably
2 ounce
two.
samples. We'll
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah.
So there you go. 3 samples
it's
coming
just-
your way.
Yeah, Justin, I forgot to add you. I'll get you next week, my friend. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, well.
That's my bad. It's
He
hard.
just joined.
I know. I'm sorry. I
well, then you need to
apologize.
send them a sample of something out of your stock.
We'll
Not
send
the
you a
Scotch for
sample.
Dummies.
We're going to send you a sample of the Nc'nean. This is for
Yep.
fun.
Yep.
'Cause
There
we'll
you
screw
go.
up.
Yeah, we missed.
All right.
That us. All right.
Guys, fun show tonight. What's coming up next?
So,
Eventually, we're talking about barley.
yeah, we do have a few things. We do have a few things on the horizon. We are going to be sending out a Patron notification to about some minor shifts and changes in regards to our Zoom shows and whatnot. And when we're going to get together with y'all, we're trying to listen to the results of the survey that we put out 2 weeks ago or so.
Yep.
So be on the lookout for that. The Virginia Distilling bottle has been bottled. I need to meet with the distillery to find out when it's going to be available online. That probably can be sooner rather than later, so very soon, maybe within the next week. But we are also going to be scheduling a trip down to the distillery in February. So any local patrons that want to come down to the distillery, if you show up, you get to be part of choosing another cask from them, so that might be fun. Aside from that, next week's show, we're looking at probably the barley topic because it feeds into the conversations that we've already had. I'm not sure if that we're going to go there, but we are going to start putting more content and focused conversation lives out moving forward. So there'll definitely be an agenda or a topic announced out through Patron communications about what we'll be talking about before next Thursday. So y'all know what you're to expect. Maybe come a little prepared. Maybe you can be a little bit more involved in the education piece on the chat. But That's what we got going on from my perspective, Drew.
That's spot on to me
That's
as well.
You got it all, Mark.
Well,
Mark's coordinator.
absolutely.
Nice work.
And next week, moving forward, we're going to continue the Patron Spotlight like we did with Kim tonight. Although we're hoping that from time to time we can fill in the Patron Spotlight with a Distillery Spotlight, where like when we do the Virginia Distilling bottle, when that bottle comes live, we're going to have somebody on from the distillery filling that Patron Spotlight section just to talk about the bottle, give you a little bit of history and info about the distillery, talk about the process, about the actual whiskey in that bottle, to kind of promote it a little bit more and let you know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So just so you know, the Patron Spotlight is Patron Spotlight / industry information segment, where hopefully we can have some people from the distilleries that we're talking about, because we also have samples that I missed FedEx and wasn't able to sign for tonight. Be tomorrow from Westward, and it's the second round of samples they've sent. So hopefully we find a winner.
I mean, bottle picks are going to be a big thing for us this year, big focus. So we're definitely on track to keep those going as well. So we got a lot of irons in the fire, guys.
Yeah. 222 bottles were bottled at Virginia Distilling for our next bottle. So 222.
Everybody gets a bottle.
Yeah.
Can we get a pre one sent to us, maybe?
Maybe. I mean,
I'll pay for it.
I'll be talking to him here in the next day or 3, and hopefully that'll happen. But anyway, happy Thursday, guys.
Yeah,
this was
good
a fun show.
Fun.
It's good to see everybody. Kim, thank you so much for joining and being a part of it. And for all the other patrons out there, thank you guys and gals for supporting us.
Click the like button, subscribe if you haven't, etc.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Till next time.
3, 2, 1.